As the march on Baghdad continues, depend on WLS for the latest updates and the inside story. Stay tuned to News Talk 890 WLS.
Roe and Garry, 50,000-watt yapper. Email us at WLSAM.com. You can hear us on the internet by going to our website and hitting the Listen Live icon.
Good news for Jesse Jackson. Spokesman for New York Newsday says that correspondents Matthew McAllister and colleague Moises Saman crossed into Jordan from Iraq and that they're fine. They had lost contact with these journalists as of March 24th. They believed that they'd been detained by the Iraqi government. As it turns out, they had been. They were actually in an Iraqi jail. And it's a little unclear. The story's getting a little being downloaded, I suppose, to use the modern. They're being debriefed.
5 of them. A peace activist was also rounded up out of her hotel and put in with the 4 people who worked for the media.
Excellent. I love when these human shields get arrested by the Iraqis. And then they hey, I'm a human shield. Shut up, you! Get in the cage! Because they don't get that they're going over there and they are supporting one of the most repressive governments in the history of humanity. They don't get that.
But even on that principle, even if they put all that aside, and apparently they have, when they get over there, what I've read, they're being asked to stand in front of water filtration plants and areas where there's weaponry, and they were all soured, or a lot of them have been soured by the way they've been treated, right, including this guy who was thrown in a jail with everybody else.
Come with me, you know! Because they don't seem to have... You know, the Iraqi government is not only mean and brutal, but they also have syntax issues in their own language.
But they released them. That's interesting. You'd think they could have been bargaining chits. They took them on March 25th, all 5.
Well, I'm sure they were called that in their
I'm sure they took a few of
incarceration.
There was the 2 Newsday guys, then Molly Bingham, a freelance photographer, and a Danish freelance photographer, a guy, were the 4. They were joined, put in a cell block alongside one of those peace activists.
I'm a peace activist!
They were released at 11 today, not physically harmed, given basic food. So why wouldn't they hold them if wanting some...
And what about the POWs?
Well, we haven't heard anything from them, have we?
They may not have been sent back yet from... there's one theory that they're being held by regional, out in the areas where they might have been captured.
Well, this is as much a propaganda war as it is artillery war, because they release these journalists. The journalists go, oh, they treated us so well, and da-da-da.
I don't think we're going to get that, though, from the Newsday people.
No, they said...
I think they scared the crap out of us for coming back.
Well, yeah, just for the fact that they were in jail in Iraq would be scary, don't you think?
There's nothing. What good can come of that?
Right,
really.
They're bombing the country, the bejesus out of the country, and you're being held there as the people they hate. What you're going to think any 2 minutes, if Roe and I were there, basically we'd have, what would we call it? Water diarrhea, 24 hours a day.
Right, pant loads.
Exactly.
You just wouldn't put on your hair. You just have your hair pants on, nothing else. Roe would be in a cell next to me just weeping, curled up, like Shawshank Redemption, the guy the first night in prison.
Well, I think we're all hoping that Geraldo gets...
taken prisoner
and just beaten like a dog.
You guys want me with you, right?
Let's see how tough he is that.
If they shaved his head, he would look quite different, wouldn't he?
All right, so what happens... Now they're amassed outside of Baghdad. Supposedly we've crossed one of these red lines. Ooh, Mr. Tough Guy. Oh, and did you see... this is I don't know if I saw this... I saw this on CNN, so it must be true. Because if I saw it on Fox, I'd think that maybe it can't be true. But it was good news, and I saw it on CNN, which means I believed it. Special forces, along with Kurdish forces, the Kurd burglars, joined our own Navy SEALs, and they took a mosque right on the Iran-Iraq border that was supposedly where this Ansar al-Islam had one of its hideouts. And they kind of did shoot some stuff at the mosque. The blue dome, which is, by the way, a very nice look. I don't know, kind of like that whole Byzantine thing with the blue, looks like a half egg, on the top.
Why don't you go over
nice.
there?
Yeah, why don't you marry it?
So much like it.
Anyway,
why don't you call Notre Dame, see if they'll change theirs?
They made a few holes in that, but they took this thing and they found documents about chemical weapons.
And also some of the operatives that are in this country, right?
Yeah.
Names and locations of them.
Yeah. Now, of course, Al Jazeera will say we made all that up. We dropped those names. We dropped the documents about the chemical weapons. We're making the whole thing up. But I hope that this is all true.
Is it in Iraq for sure, on the border? Are we sending surveyors to carve that part and make sure?
What's really funny is on the map, it's in Iran. That was something that alarmed me a little bit when I saw it on the news.
We'll be changing that.
It's about 10 miles over the Iranian border. Hey, I think this is Iraq. Is this Iraq? It's Iraq. You got to send some Chicago cops over there. First of all, you send Chicago cops over there, they're going to find documents. They're going to find weapons of mass destruction.
And they're going to tune up Saddam if he's not dead already.
Come here. Hey, you. So we know what's happening there. Hey, did you see, by the way, speaking of Chicago police, the first flurry of lawsuits is about to be filed from the protesters that night that the protesters marched down Lakeshore Drive, stopped all the traffic, and then they were all kind of
in a corral,
redirected.
A police corral.
Right, redirected onto Chicago Avenue, and then a gigantic police sphincter tightened around them.
And then spat them out one by one.
Don't describe our police force and anything like that.
That's what they did. It was like 3 deep, and these guys were in a circle, and they kept moving closer and closer and closer and pushing the protesters together.
Could you use
literally?
What's the lawsuit about?
And literally, they would, like Gary said, bing, they would shoot one protester out at a time.
Pinch one out.
Yeah.
What's the lawsuit about?
Well, here's what it's about. That once they arrested these guys, they took the men down to a police station on like 115th and State.
111th and State. That's
111th and State. Okay. And they held some of them for up to 42 hours without proper sanitary conditions and water and food and all of that. And these guys were apparently complaining in the cell. And then instead of like taking them back by car to where they came from, they told them all to go out and catch the bus, which I thought was the funniest thing ever. They should have, you know what they should have done? All these protesters who are, at that point, look, I support your right to protest. Freedom of speech is one of the most cherished and important rights that we have as Americans.
We abuse it here every afternoon.
But when the police tell you to disperse because you've already committed a crime by walking down Lakeshore Drive, just disperse. Don't be an a-hole.
Or stay off the streets.
Right. Everybody was here fine. It was great. But then these people, they wanted to continue to, they wanted the party to continue because that's what they were really all about.
You get more TV time, too, if you disrupt something.
Right. I think they should have taken them to the Englewood police station and let them all take buses home from there, too.
What's wrong with Englewood now?
Nothing. It's closer to downtown. It would have been a little more convenient for the protesters.
There was a White Castle at 111th. I wonder if it's still there. When I was growing up, I was born not too far from there at Roseland Community Hospital. Not community college. I went to community college. That's a high school with ashtrays. But there was a White Castle there. And
it's the only white thing in the neighborhood, isn't it?
Hey, that was funny there, huh? You doing the white stuff, huh?
Yeah, Gary grew up there until he ran away. Until he and his family were until Gary got on his bike and he just started pedaling till he got to Tinley Park. That's the last thing he remembered.
We left 5 years before we would have had to run. Because of redlining by the realtors.
Right, yeah.
5 years.
Yeah, that
at
was
least.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Everything was fine. Halstead was the dividing line. Everything was fine. And then something happened.
I saw this on the American Experience. I know all about it. Anyway, they took these protesters down there, and I love that. Because that's like smart police brutality right there.
Well, cops have their own code. They know with the paddy wagon in the middle of winter, you hose it down, and so it all freezes up inside. It's all metal.
Or you drive a guy around for 6 hours because it's just cold back there.
Right.
There's ham-handed police brutality, which is like what that Burge guy was doing. He was sticking with
the typewriter cover.
The typewriter cover over the guy's head till he confessed. That's old school. New school is you drive him to a place. Okay, Mr. Protester. Okay, Mr. Plastic Shoes, because you're opposed to eating beef. Find your way home from here, pal.
Please give me a ride.
Right, and now they're all trying to get back into the police station. Come on.
Just stay off the streets if you want to protest.
I mean, and
that's all
honestly, let me ask you something. Let me give a little shout out to my peeps in the African American community. How many African American protesters were out there? I know there was a lot of African Americans opposed to this war.
Right.
Tons. And they're
At least half.
They're opposed to the war, on the basis of the concept that it's bad for African Americans. That the perception is that they're on the front line and blah 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 blah. Right? All good. But when the people that were running out there and protesting, there were 15-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old rich kids from the suburbs who were coming in here. Dude, I'm totally opposed to the war, and I'm totally for hemp. Right? And they wouldn't go home. So the cops would give them a little ride. That's Chicago. And then they took the women. The men had to go down to the 115th, 111th and State. The women were sent up to like O'Hare or something. They were taken to a place that doesn't have bus service to get home from.
And that's why they're suing?
Yeah, well, that's
it was hard to get back home.
First lawsuits that already the lawyers are out there who are, talking about what the point is, and the argument is not so much that they couldn't get, good bus service. Although I think it's very, very funny.
Is that they didn't have proper accommodations?
Right, that they were in the cell for 40 hours and they weren't watered properly, like a plant, like your goldfish wasn't watered properly.
Hey, hey, ho, ho.
All right. We're being told now there's going to be a Central Command briefing that they would like us to listen in on.
Yeah, it's unexpected and suddenly called. We don't know if there's been
Is the war over?
Big development or what's going on, but we're waiting for that.
What time?
Any minute. The cameras are poised on the podium, looking at the empty podium, as we've been doing when we'll know when these things will happen. It could be...
and who's going to speak?
This is from the Central Command.
Oh, this is General Brooks. I love him.
Yeah, he comes out and gives a play-by-play that's magnificent.
Oh, yeah, he's good. He's the star. He is the new,
He's emerged as a star.
Remember how Colin Powell became a media star in the aftermath of the First Persian Gulf War because he gave those very direct
Who was that
press
police chief in Maryland during the sniper shootings?
Oh, but he's there.
What's his name?
Chief Moose.
Chief Moose.
Yeah. Chief Moose got activated.
He did?
Yeah. Oh, what if they took Chief Moose? Oh, that would be a very, very bad situation right there.
All right, so we'll take a break here, and then when this happens,
we'll break in immediately as soon as General Brooks comes to the podium. We'll bring that to you. A rare Central Command briefing.